Good morning, friends. Welcome to another day of Light for the Journey as we shift into the season of Lent. We'll be back with daily videos Monday through Friday through the season of Lent up to Easter, hopefully by 7 a.m. each morning. And obviously, you can utilize them anytime throughout the day. Lent is a season of self-reflection and study and prayer and fasting and reconciliation and all of those hard things that sometimes need to take place in our life for our spiritual life. Hard in the sense that sometimes there's stuff we don't want to necessarily dive into, but also things that can be incredibly meaningful and realistic. Sometimes, Lent, I know for me, sometimes Lent seems dry. Sometimes I just don't get into it. And then some years it's an amazing time of really growing spiritually and in depth. And there's just so many things that can impact that. And boy, have we been through so much in the last couple of years. And then at the same time, there's a little bit of a juxtaposition. I know yesterday for Ash Wednesday, we were so excited to see new people, to see people who haven't been for a while. And then also a lot of people now that masks are optional, we're able to see people's faces, and some I haven't seen for a couple of years. And so we had this joy and energy in the midst of this penitential, self-examining, repentant season that's ahead of us. And those actually, that, it might seem a little discongruent, but it's really not. It's actually real. There's joy right now in the midst of the challenges that we're facing. The world can be a difficult, dark place right now, especially with all the conflict in Europe around the Ukraine, with the continuing divisions in our culture, the continuing challenges around COVID, and I think some emotional processing that none of us have had a chance to really do about everything that's happened the last couple of years. And what a time for us to begin this spiritual journey together. I talked about this poem a little bit yesterday. I'm going to take a little different angle on it, but I think it's worth revisiting. Wendell Berry writes about some of this very sense of our despair, can be a word that we might feel sometimes, or the heaviness of the world, and what we might do with that to be closer to God. So take a listen. When despair for the world grows in me, and I wake in the night at the least sound, in fear of what my life and my children's lives may be, I go and lie down where the wood drake rests in his beauty on the water, and the great heron feeds. I come into peace of wild things, who do not tax their lives with forethought of grief. I come into the presence of still waters, and I feel above me the day-blind stars, waiting with their light for a time. I rest in the grace of the world, and I am free. What a beautiful set of words and poetry and images that Wendell offers to us. This sense of our own despair, the kind of despair or heaviness that wakes us up in the middle of the night, our fears, and a way to reset by being in the wild things of nature and to find that grace. How do we find grace in our lives, and how do we find those moments of recharging? Psychologists and others and scientists study how being in nature for long walks or being near nature can have a tremendous impact on our soul, on our mind, on our brain, and on our spirituality. There's something to what Wendell writes about being in touch with the creation, which is always being close to God. It's dwelling in God's house, so to speak. And when we might see that beauty and feel that grace in the moment that we're in. So maybe during the season of Lent and during the season of hope and the season of despair, it might be worth asking, how can I get closer to God and God's grace? And how can I see that? In the warmth of these days, maybe it's time to take a few walks, to sit and to listen to the birds, to see the grass turn green, to hear the wind in the trees, to see the water in its waves, and to see God's grace that's always around us in every moment of every hour of every day, if we can just be open to its presence. God bless, and see you tomorrow.
Two prophets who had faith to see